And Brianna Keilar continues our live coverage in Lviv, Ukraine. Brianna, good morning. What's the latest there?
Laura, Ukraine's president is now warning that the atrocities in Borodyanka, which is a suburb outside of Kyiv, will actually be worse than those that were found in nearby Bucha after the retreat of Russian forces from the area. Crews in Borodyanka are now digging through rubble. They are searching for bodies. How many, they do not know. Ukraine's chief prosecutor says that 26 bodies were found in the wreckage of just 2 large houses there. And a source telling CNN that German intelligence claims to have intercepted radio transmissions of Russian troops talking about indiscriminately killing civilians, that they are on tape talking about this. In the meantime, Ukraine's foreign minister says the battle for Donbass is underway as fighting is shifting to the eastern part of the country. And the U.S. has now committed tens of thousands more weapons to Ukraine. This includes anti-armor systems and suicide drones. Let's talk more about the big picture here with CNN's Phil Black. And, you know, Phil, I think we look at some of what we're seeing in Borodyanka, where a lot of this is a horrific cleanup operation and sort of an evaluation of what's going on. But what does this portend now for the East that has been under bombardment for so long?
What we know about Borodyanka, Brianna, is that there's almost nothing left. It's been devastated, totally destroyed by the intense fighting that's been taking place there. And we don't know how many people lie beneath the rubble in those destroyed buildings. And you're right, in the east, there's been intense fighting going on for weeks. And the point is, it's about to get a lot worse. The expectation is that the Russians are about to launch massive new offensive operations. An official there this morning says they are seeing the signs of an imminent attempt to break through Ukrainian lines by Russian forces. This is expected to be, according to the Ukrainians and other analysts, a very different sort of fight here. A much greater density of Russian forces in a smaller area generally. It's more concentrated. As the Ukrainian foreign minister said yesterday, it's going to be more like something out of World War II. Thousands of tanks, armoured vehicles, planes. And the fear is that, yes, communities, villages, homes will simply be destroyed and wiped off. So it is important that civilians get out now while they can. It's not an easy thing to achieve, and we've got proof of that this morning, a missile strike on a train station at Kramatorsk in the east. This is a key hub for evacuations from that area, and we're hearing reports of dozens of casualties as a result of that strike this morning.
Dozens of casualties. All right, Phil, thank you so much for that. We do appreciate it. Let's talk more now with General Peter Zwack. He is the author of Swimming the Volga, an Army officer's experiences in pre-Putin Russia. Sir, what are you expecting? What are you expecting from this? It sounds already like Russian forces are sort of testing the Ukrainian lines.
Yes, Brianna, thanks for having me. Yeah, I would first highlight that in 5 weeks, approximately, is Russia's Victory Day ceremony event that commemorates and celebrates the end of the Second World War and the defeat over the Nazis. That's a big deal in Moscow, and they really have nothing to show for that. So I give that as a background because I believe over the next starting in the next soon to the next 4 weeks, it's going to be really, really tough in and around, especially Donbass and down along the Black Sea. The Russians have been able to look. They've been badly bloodied and humiliated, but they are moving forces back down from Belarus, keeping some opposite Kyiv, and forces are coming in from the hinterland. Not necessarily the best troop quality, but lots more. Full of artillery, cannon fire, full of rockets, full of, there'll be missiles. It'll almost be World War I, World War II, like we would say hub to hub, are massive fires. The Ukrainian positions on the Donbass, along the old contact line, are there. They're dug in deep, World War I or World War II style, but we could see massive fires in part to make up to help the Russian ground troops, infantry and tanks push through the positions. So we could see a bludgeon-like grinding type attrition through the front of Donbass. The other point is that, as we've been reading, there may be attempts coming from the south up from Crimea and down from the north, down towards Kharkiv area, of trying to pincer, encircle the Ukrainian forces that are along the line in Donbass. The Russians want to win a big and decisive victory. They do have the Ukrainian forces fixed, meaning they know and they're opposite each other. Russians are on what you call interior lines, and expectation is it's going to be a big, hard, ugly, brutal push. What can
Ukrainian forces do then? We've seen them use sort of, their wiles and their will in the areas outside of Kyiv, using drones to target tank columns. How can they repel that kind of pincer movement and this heavy activity by the Russians?
First, along the flanks, the pincers. The Russians are grinding down. They've been doing that. They will use, the Ukrainians have been pretty agile, what you call with their counter-fire, counter-artillery, with their drones. They've been able, with the Stingers and the other systems coming in, the Russians, while they have air support, don't have air dominance, and the Ukrainians still make it really difficult for Russian air support to get low. Ukrainian forces also will be defending, while there's a lot of open terrain, a lot of ground, but they will use villages and towns to kind of anchor their defenses. They will, the pincers are going through Ukrainian territory, and they will be hit heavily along the flanks, probably by Ukrainian smaller units and infantry. But what is different is that there is a fixed fight developing, a force on force. The Russians see the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are dug in deep in the key areas with some flexibility in the flanks. And all the modern weapons we're providing should be a real help. But no, this could be very, very bloody and direct.
All right, General Zwack, thank you so much for your insights there. We appreciate it. Laura, I want to go back to you in New York.
All right, thanks, Brianna. Coming up for you, the moment Russian forces hit a cancer hospital in Ukraine. CNN talks to survivors near the scene. Plus, disturbing new accusations against two men who fooled the Secret Service. And the moment history was made for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Each year, Americans waste $21 billion by overpaying on car insurance. That's why I went to thezebra.com. Because while every company claims to save you money on car insurance, the Zebra shows you who actually can.
Compare car insurance for free at thezebra.com today.
Russian targets in the port city of Mykolaiv, including the city's cancer hospital and a market full of civilians. CNN's Ben Wiedemann meeting some of the victims of Russia's brutality there.
This has become Mykolaiv's daily routine, picking up the pieces, sweeping away the wreckage from Russian missile attacks. Random shelling throughout the city with what appear to be cluster munitions. Glass shards and shrapnel tore into Marina. As she lies in a hospital, her thoughts are with her teenage daughter, also injured, now at a children's hospital. My daughter and I were caught between two bombs, she recalls. It's a miracle we're still alive. It was terrifying. The hospital where Marina is recovering was hit in the morning. Dirt covers the blood from one of the injured. Closed-circuit television video from the city's cancer hospital captures the moment it was struck. Earlier this week, a missile barrage killed 9 people and wounded more than 40 at this market. We were able to count 23 impact points in a radius of just 100 meters, and each one of these incoming rounds sprays shrapnel in every direction. Danilo was working in this store and rushed outside when he heard the blasts.
Помогите, у нее была прибита нога.
Over there, a woman was screaming, "Help me!" Her leg was shattered, he says. Behind the store, 2 people were killed. Dried blood and flowers marked the spot where people died. Last week, a bomb struck the regional governor's office, killing 36 people. Every day in Mykolaiv, this relentless bombardment shatters any semblance of normal life. Mid-afternoon, and people line up to escape the danger. This bus bound for Poland. Victoria cradles her 1-year-old daughter, Ivanna. Her husband stays behind. Soon we'll be back home, says Victoria. Everything will be all right. How soon that will be, nobody knows. Ben Wiedemann, CNN, Mykolaiv.
Another Ukrainian family separated by this war, Laura. We thank Ben Wiedemann, of course, for that report.
Yes, thank you to Ben, who's been doing such phenomenal reporting there. Here in the U.S., Congress just passed 2 bipartisan bills to further punish the Russians. CNN's Daniela Diaz is live on Capitol Hill for us. Daniela, good morning. So what exactly do these bills target?
Laura, one of these bills would suspend normal trade relations with Russia and Belarus, another country that has been aiding Russia in this invasion into Ukraine. And the other bill puts into law Biden's previous executive order banning imports of Russian oil, natural gas, and coal. These are 2 measures that Congress has been working on for weeks. And look, the Senate actually passed both of these bills yesterday. It was stalled in the Senate after some negotiations with some Republican senators, but it was passed unanimously, Laura. All Democratic and Republican senators voted in support of these 2 bills. Now, in the House, that was a different story. Some Republican House members opposed these bills, both of these bills, those being, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and Matt Gaetz. Unclear why they didn't support this when it turned out to be a very bipartisan measure in the Senate. But look, President Joe Biden is expected to sign both of these measures into law as soon as possible. And now, of course, this was the last measure by the Senate to punish Russia before, of course, the Senate and House go to a 2-week recess starting today. So they won't be here for 2 weeks, Laura, which is why they wanted to try to pass this before they left.
All right, Daniela, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Coming up, how fake federal agents with real guns tricked the U.S. Secret Service. And the volunteers saving the pets left behind in war-torn Ukraine.
Dropping, name the word. I mean, whatever it isn't good because it defies any logic whatsoever. You have 2 men who are clearly have access to lots of money. They're paying for very expensive apartments. They're living in an apartment. They have all sorts of weaponry. Who's funding this exercise, right? Yeah. Is it another country? Are they alone? And then the second piece is, of course, how did Secret Service agents not begin to ask questions of who are these 2 guys who are telling us that they are part of what's called the HSI, Homeland Security Investigation Division, and just lavishing us, right? That sort of doesn't make sense. So the question right now is, was this an intelligence operation? In other words, court the Secret Service agents, get information that they can then give to a third party, or was it more nefarious, right? That in other words, this is involving something to do something bad, to very important people. And we don't know that yet.
It also made me wonder, has the Secret Service sort of learned anything from past scandals that we've seen? You think about the agents sort of breaking protocol down in hotel rooms with women in past administrations. There's been embarrassing episodes in the past. Yes. Because of those, have they taken any steps to try to shore things up?
Well, after every scandal, they definitely do. So there's 2 types of scandals. So one is just they're doing something wrong, prostitution, drug use, and the Secret Service has gotten very intense about agent discipline, about making sure that agents behave well in their personal conduct. The other is when there's a breach, and we've seen that before. We saw that at the White House dinner during the Obama administration, and they try to tighten it. This one is odd and different in that for several years, this isn't a specific, several years, there's sort of an luring of these agents under some theory of an investigation, and that the agents never seem to think, and that's why I have a big question mark in my head, never seemed to think something's wrong here. It was actually a Postal Service investigator investigating something totally different who discovered it. The agents are on administrative leave. They have not been fired yet. That's probably because there'll be a criminal investigation. But let's just say, I think we remain skeptical about what the Secret Service agents knew was going on, because this just seems too naive for a sophisticated law enforcement agent to believe.
You would just think at some point a red flag would have been raised and someone might think, why am I being courted in this way? And I would think that would be part of their training, is that people may try to give you things, and that would be part of routine. Yeah,
exactly. Women may try to pick you up at a bar. Someone may try to be a new neighbor may try to be really nice and give you things. And that's what is very odd. Was it because they presented themselves as law enforcement agents that the Secret Service was duped, or is there something more nefarious between these agents and these guys? But the big question is, that's a lot of money that these guys, that the two defendants are passing around. They're living in high-end apartments over 2 years.
And to what end?
Not like there's and to what end? Is it intelligence or is it worse? So this is one of those things where, me and you, we read and we go, oh, this is the beginning. This is not the end. Some stuff, a lot of stuff is going to come out.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of effort if it was just to become buddies with federal agents. But
exactly.
We will see where this goes. Juliette Keim, always great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Meanwhile, this New York attorney agents.
Exactly.
We will see where this goes. Juliette Keim, always great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Meanwhile, this New York Attorney General Letitia James is asking a judge to hold former President Trump in contempt for stonewalling her civil tax fraud investigation. She says despite clear orders from the court, Trump has refused to turn over documents subpoenaed in her investigation of Trump and the Trump organization's business dealings. James is also asking for a $10,000 a day fine until Trump complies with the subpoena. Well, just ahead, meet the team in Ukraine dedicated to saving pets left behind in the war zone. And we will take you to the vacation hotspot where people are praying for rain. Among the many defenseless victims of the war in Ukraine, pets, the cats, dogs, and other animals that people were forced to abandon as they fled advancing Russian troops. Rescuing those pets has become the job of an all-volunteer group based in Kyiv, calling itself Zoo Patrol. Let's bring in the group's founder, Dmytro Revnik, and a member of his team, Andriy Litsenko. Thank you both so much for joining us on the show this morning. Andriy, first to you, explain how this all started. How did the Zoo Patrol become a thing?
So it's hi everyone. It's a really cool, interesting story because once war started, it was like a huge tremble for maybe the whole creative community, because at once guys stopped doing they usually did like in regular life. And afterwards, how it was happened, Dmytro, he received first request on the person who left his pet at home, and the house was closed, and asked him to actually to lockpick the house and come and feed and take out the pets. And afterwards, once the first mission was complete, Dmytro received around like 800 or even 850 requests in just 3 days. So we understood that the problem is really huge. And afterwards, Dmitry just had his own production team. Dmitry worked in like a video production house. And all the guys from creative industry, from production team he worked with, they joined actually the Zoo Patrol in this like Telegram group. And from the starting of war, guys actually like every day trying to save as much pets as possible. So we started from Kyiv, and afterwards you probably know that suburbs near Kyiv, cities near Kyiv, like hugely shelled, hugely bombed, and a lot of pets are left there because their owners were killed because someone left and decided to leave their cat or dog like at home. So it's like really, currently it's really like terrible situation in the suburbs of Kiev. So it's a lot of bodies are laying on the earth, on the ground, and these pets, these dogs, mostly dogs, are started to eat these bodies because they are like hungry, and they are struggling from this, starving from this. So we are trying to do as much as possible to save as much as possible pets and bring it to the safe place in Kiev.
You guys are doing so much, and I know so many people are so appreciative. You know, pets mean so much to people. Dmytro, I wonder, what is the hardest part of this?
Что самое сложное в этом?
Я не считаю это сложным, потому что расскажи про то, что мы все были в отчаянии, и это придало нам силы.
You know, like Dmytro is, don't treat it as something hard and something tough, because at the one moment everyone was desperate, and doing something positive, doing something useful, we give us more confidence and more power, like to live more because you are doing something good. So it's not maybe about hardness of the process, but maybe the hardest part is like for now is to keep a lot of animals, because Dima has 2 offices which are already full of pets, like more than 50 dogs and cats in one office. So for my opinion, the maybe toughest moment now is to keep these pets like in a normal conditions, to have a food for them and to have a good attitude to them while they are like in the Dima's office.
I wondered that. How are you feeding them? Where are you keeping them? Just anywhere you can?
So as I told, like for now, Dima in his production house office, he's keeping right there all the pets they saved, which didn't found the owner so far. As for feed, a lot of volunteers, a lot of people, just citizens of Ukraine, of Kiev, they are just providing with the help. So they are buying the food for pets. That's why they're not hungry, they're not starving here.
Wow, you guys are just take on something so incredible, and it's just these small acts of kindness that add up to just a really heartening effort. I thank you both for all that you're doing. And Dmytro, I know you have also a new baby on top of all of this, so you really do have your hands full of everything. Look at that. Oh, scrumptious. All right, Dmytro, Andriy, thank you so much for spending a little time with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a nice day, and everything will be Ukraine. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Still to come, today's White House celebration for a true trailblazer. And Tiger Woods teeing off after a solid first day at the Masters. That's next. Just hours from now, a celebration at the White House for Ketanji Brown Jackson's historic confirmation as the first Black woman to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. CNN's Jasmine Wright is live in Washington for us this morning. Jasmine, you know, for many years after the president is gone, then Justice Jackson will be on that court. This is a huge stamp for the president's legacy. Who's going to be there today?
Well, Laura, that's right. Huge stamp for the president's legacy. And so scheduled to speak is President Biden, Vice President Harris, and Judge, soon to be Justice Jackson. And, you know, the event is happening around noon today on the White House South Lawn outside as the White House continues to grapple with the wave of positive COVID-19 cases from administration officials and other top lawmakers. And just yesterday, we saw photos of Judge Jackson watching the returns of the vote alongside President Biden. In this photo, you see they look very close. They look very happy. In another, they were holding hands. So no doubt they were celebrating this moment. There you can see them holding hands right there. And no doubt that celebration is going to continue because not only, Laura, you're right, this is an achievement for Jackson personally after all of her hard work all of these years, an achievement for Black girls across the country and no doubt across the globe, but also a personal achievement for President Biden, who is struggling with with low approval numbers from high inflation, from gas prices made worse by that Russian invasion, and from the ongoing pandemic. So no doubt this is something that the White House is really going to lean in today and celebrate the president's first successful person that he was able to put on the Supreme Court of his presidency.
And perhaps the only one. Jasmine Wright, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So here is a look at how the historic moment of Judge Jackson's confirmation unfolded on the floor of the Senate.
On this vote, the yeas are 53, the nays are 47, and this nomination is confirmed.
Let's bring in April Ryan, CNN political analyst and Washington bureau chief for the Griot. April, so nice to have you bright and early this morning. Appreciate you coming on early start.
Indeed, Laura. Anything for you. Good morning.
So 233 years, the Supreme Court has been in existence. And finally, yesterday, a black woman is confirmed. What was going through your head as you watched it?
Well, you know, I was watching the controlled excitement by Vice President Kamala Harris, who was presiding over the Senate yesterday, to see this moment. And this moment is not just about this moment. There have been attempts to have a black woman Supreme Court justice before. I think about during the Obama administration, people like Melanie Campbell and Mark Morial, many of the civil rights leaders had been pushing for those moments during the Obama years. And we also heard that former President Bill Clinton had thought about nominating Barbara Jordan for that high perch. So this is a moment that has been building for decades, but it's finally here. She's 116 after 233 years. It's a long time for a first.
It is a long time indeed. And yet somehow, in the midst of all of that historic and just the monumental nature of the moment, some Republicans chose to walk out of the chamber yesterday. If we have the video, we can play it so people can see in case they missed it. Everyone's giving her a standing ovation. You know, it's a historic moment for the country. Even if you did not vote for her, it's a moment. And this is the one they chose to walk out on?
This just further highlights and spotlights the divide that's in Washington. There is disdain. Political disdain for any success the other side might have. Right now, it's Republicans against Democrats. And who knows if Republicans have this wave during the midterms as expected, who knows? It could be Democrats against Republicans. But this, once again, is a symbol, not just a symbol, but the actual fact that we saw, the optics of the disdain, the divide. But you did have bipartisan support. All she needed was 50. And she received 53 yes votes, 3 from Republicans and the rest from Democrats.
Well, so that was an unfortunate moment, a petty one, but there were some tender ones as well. The Vice President Harris gave Senators Cory Booker and Raphael Warnock a piece of stationery to sort of commemorate the moment and told them to write a note to a young girl in their lives. And Senator Warnock shared the note that he wrote to his daughter. And I want to read just a little bit of it to you because I think it's so just telling for how people feel about this moment. He's talking about Judge Jackson. He says, in our nation's history, she is the first Supreme Court justice who looks like you, with hair like yours. And he goes on to say, I write this note to say you can be anything, achieve anything you set your head and your heart to. Love you, Dad. What do you make of that?
There is a moment for journalism, but there's also a moment for humanity as a Black woman who is a mother of 2 daughters. And it does make you take pause and say, there is a shift. The optics are shifting of the power structure in Washington. And yes, you can be, as long as you have hard work behind you and a good education, to be anything you set out to be. But Laura, it's not just about the little Black girl. It's about any girl, any boy. I mean, I think about my conversation leading up to this moment with Senator Elizabeth Warren, who was elated over this moment, ready to cast this vote. A white woman who happens to pride herself in being a champion for people, average people. This is a moment not just for little Black girls and Black women and the Black community, but it's a celebration for all to see a shift where everyone could be at the table and own the table. And I think about the late Shirley Chisholm, who ran for president in 1972, the first Black woman to run for president on the Democratic side.
Right.
You know, she talked about if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Well, Ketanji Brown Jackson has a solid chair, and she is at the highest court at that bench in October. So things are shifting from 1972 to 2022.
Yes, she now has a chair for life. And it, as you said, is really a moment for the country to be proud of. April Ryan, thank you so much. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Laura.
Well, Tiger Woods completes a remarkable return to golf with an impressive showing to start the Masters. Coy Wire has more in this morning's Bleacher Report. He is live from Augusta National. Hey, Coy.
Yes, good morning to you, Laura. It had been 508 days since we'd seen Tiger play his last competitive round here in Augusta, and it looks as strong as ever. Filled to the brim with faith, it was clear that he worked hard to get his mind and body right after that near-fatal car accident 14 months ago, and there was a sea of humanity to see that comeback. People on their tippy toes. I saw one person literally jumping up so he could see Tiger tee off. The five-time Masters champ played solid and at times showed flashes of brilliance, like his approach for birdie here on the 6th. You'll see he finished with a 1-under par 71, which is incredible considering the long, grueling course that took its toll on him as the round went on with the rods and screws in his leg and foot. Tiger had a noticeable limp, but he knows that that's just his new reality. Listen.
With all the hardware in my leg, it's going to be difficult, you know, for the rest of my life. It's just the way it is. But I'm able to do it, and that's something I'm very lucky to have this opportunity to be able to play, and not only that, to play in the Masters and to have this type of reception. I mean, the place was electric.
This place was popping, Laura. Woods is tied for 10th, just 4 shots behind the leader, Sungjae Im. Tiger says that he has the ability to win the Masters, but does he have the sustain ability? Last night, the 46-year-old said that there wasn't going to be any extra hours-long practice sessions like he's used to. It was straight to the rehab process to prepare for round 2 today.
Lots of ice baths, and just, you know, basically freezing myself to death, and you know, that's just part of the deal. You know, most sports, if you're not feeling very good, get a teammate to pass it off to, and they can kind of shelter the load. Or in football, you know, 1 day a week. Here we got 4 straight days, and there's no one going to shoulder the load besides me, and I got to figure out a way to do it. I know how to play. I just got to get out there where I can play.
All right, Laura, Tiger's scheduled to begin his second round this afternoon at 1:41 Eastern. We'll see if we can take that one step closer to making the cut here in Augusta.
All right, we'll see, Coy. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Your home
I'm Selma Abdulaziz at the Poland-Ukraine border, and this is CNN.
A critical reservoir, the second largest in the U.S., in fact, that supplies water to some 40 million people across 7 states and Mexico, is running dry. CNN's Bill Weir takes us there.
Just a couple years ago, this part of Lake Powell was pretty enough to put in the brochure. But today, there is no water, only sand.
You can't paddle around Lone Rock anymore.
If you haven't been out west in a while, haven't seen the state of the Colorado River and its reservoirs, you would be shocked. This is what Powell looked like just last spring, when you could still float around Lone Rock, but the satellite shows it losing island status as the lake level fell over 40 feet.
And the lake used to go half a mile around the corner. And now it starts way back here. I cannot believe this.
While hurricanes, floods, and wildfires can upend your life in a moment, droughts are slow-motion disasters. And this one is now in its 23rd year. With the region's population booming and another winter without enough snow, there are no signs of relief.
But when you are houseboating on what's left of Lake Powell, it's still gorgeous. It's still so easy to forget that just since the mid-'80s, the water level has dropped 177 feet. That's like
10 of these yachts stacked on top of each other.
This is a temporary dock to get us access to the marina.
So the tourism industry has no choice but to adapt, making ramps longer as the lake gets lower.
This was connected straight up there. So
at one point we would have been high enough that would have been a straight angle.
Yeah.
This is not a decade or two. This is a year or two since it's dropped.
Yeah, this is within 2 to 3 years.
If it continues to go down another 10, 15 feet, we might have to shut down.
For Max Lapicus, the changing canyons means more people eager to explore them in his rental kayaks and paddleboards, but not enough safe places to put them in. And he knows that big picture, 40 million people and their animals and crops in 7 states in Mexico depend on Colorado River water, not to recreate, but to live.
Man-made climate change, I do believe, is a thing to a certain extent, but I do believe the Earth goes through cycles, and this could just be another cycle. But I don't see any good evidence of it getting any better anytime soon.
In a first-of-its-kind Gallup poll, 1 in 3 Americans say they've been personally affected by severe weather the past 2 years. And for those who have, regardless of party, they are much more likely to say the climate crisis demands action. But only 3% say they've experienced drought. This may be because for most, tap water keeps flowing. And here, houseboaters keep coming. What do you say to someone who sees this as proof, alarming proof of sort of a man-made climate crisis?
Some of it is man-made, there's no doubt about it. You've got more users using the water out of the Colorado River. You've got more of everything than you had 50 years ago. It's that simple.
Would you label your business a victim of drought?
We've had to change the way we do a lot of things. At this point, I would not say we're a victim. I would say we're an adapter.
And from now on, it seems anyone who wants to live in the American Southwest will have to be an adapter. Bill Weir, CNN, Page, Arizona.
Our thanks to Bill Weir for that incredible report, as usual. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Laura Jarrett. New Day starts right now.
This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, good morning to our viewers in the United States and around the world. It is Friday, April 8th. I'm John Berman in New York. Brianna Keilar is in Lviv in western Ukraine, and we do begin with major breaking news out of eastern Ukraine. Russian forces have hit a train station, a missile attack on a train station here in Kramatorsk. Thousands of people at that train station trying to get out of the region. Responders say at least 30 people were killed, including children, 100 more injured. We're told you can see bodies lying on the ground with their suitcases right next to them. These people trying to get out of that war-torn region. The Ukrainian officials say the Russians knew what they were hitting. I want to show you images of this train station from just 4 days ago. Look at this. You can see how packed this train station has been. Imagine what it would be like in a missile strike now. Ukrainian officials say Russian forces are planning for a huge breakthrough attempt in that part of the country, in the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine. The preparations for the offensive, we are told, are nearing completion. Residents are being urged to get out. No doubt that's what the people at that train station just hit were trying to do. Ukraine's foreign minister says the battle will remind everyone of World War II with large-scale operations and thousands of tanks. The latest intelligence assessment from the United Kingdom says that Russian forces have now fully withdrawn from northern Ukraine, this region right here, into Belarus and Russia over here, although they're no doubt trying to move over here to the eastern part of the country. And in a overnight, stark, first-of-its-kind admission from the Kremlin, a spokesperson admits that Russian troop losses are significant and calls it a huge tragedy. The Ukrainian military claims the Russians are searching for ways to replenish troop levels, conscripting those who have been discharged from military service since 2012, especially mechanics and junior officers. Brianna, let's go to you.
Yeah, I'm here with Phil Black here in Lviv. Phil, these pictures that we're seeing coming out of Kramatorsk are terrible.
They really are, Brianna, extraordinary. Kramatorsk is a key hub in the east, in the Donbass region, and it has been especially so for the purposes of people trying to get out of that area. And there's been a real push to get people out of that area in recent weeks because of the expectation that Russia is about to launch big new offensive operations there. The point is, as has been made, there have been hundreds of people there every day for some time now. So from the Ukrainian point of view, they do not see this as an accident. They do not think that this is something that, they believe it was deliberate. They believe that this was a deliberate attempt to strike fear, to cause terror in the heart of the local civilian population, to increase pressure and cause chaos that ultimately does increase pressure on the Ukrainian government and services and military through displacement of the local population in a way that is clearly less than orderly.
And like you said, I think there's this expectation that Russia knows what they're doing. This is an area where there have been so many people, and it's just a continuation. Even as they deny, it's really a farce as they are denying that they're hitting civilian targets.
That statement is absolutely a farce, as we know, based upon the evidence that we see every single day. But this is extraordinary to think that this was a deliberate target, really. These are families with children, people trying to leave the war zone, trying to find safety. It is extraordinary to think and difficult to believe that this was targeted deliberately. But the Ukrainians say, how could you think otherwise? Just simply based upon what they know has been taking place at that train station every day for some time. It does appear that the missile was a targeted missile, and the impact, the result, is clearly tremendous loss of life. As we say, around 30 so far, but officials are saying that that's a preliminary figure and it is expected to get much greater, and the number of injuries and other casualties, of course, is far greater as well.
All right, Phil, we know that you'll be keeping an eye on this all day. We do appreciate it. Berman, it's more of the same in a way, but these scenes are horrific.
They are horrific, and we could see a lot more of them. Let me just show people again where this is. Kramatorsk. It is in eastern Ukraine. This is the region where everyone expects fierce fighting to take place, and very soon. I'll push in a little bit more so you can see. This is the city right here where that train station was, and I can show people video of that train station from just a few days ago. Crowded. Thousands of people at this train station. Packed. Imagine what it would be like if a missile hit. I want to bring in CNN Chief International Anchor Christian Amanpour. Christian, the details are just coming in. We're told at least 30 dead, 100 injured, but you can imagine those numbers will rise.
Well, we've actually just been on the phone to the mayor of Kramatorsk, and he has given us more details. Basically, the numbers are 30 dead right now, 100 wounded. But as you say, that is bound to rise, the number of dead, because many of them are in critical condition, he says, and are in the hospital as they attempt to treat them. The mayor says that there were 2 missile strikes, and I'm going to read you what he says about exactly where. He says they were in the temporary waiting room at the station where hundreds of people were waiting for the evacuation train. In his view, this is another proof that Russia is brutally, barbarically killing the civilian Ukrainians with one goal only, and that is to kill. So let's just be very clear. For the last 2 weeks, this station has been the well-known hub for evacuations from the east, from Donbass. It's a major area there. This station, everybody knew. The mayor says that some 8,000 people per day came to that station to be evacuated and have been being evacuated for the last 2 weeks. Today, he says, up to 4,000 people were there when these 2 missiles struck. Now, we have seen the pictures. We're not yet broadcasting them. And this, to me, is very, very reminiscent of the attacks by mortars in Sarajevo on the marketplace, where ordinary civilians were massacred as they just went about their business. What's important about this is the terrible loss of life, the relentless attack on ordinary people, men, women, and children. Each time this has happened, it has stiffened the West's resolve. Each time a horror happens, it has propelled, for instance, the EU to put more and more sanctions on Russia. Today, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is coming to Kyiv to meet with President Zelensky, as the EU has already voted to pass a 5th tranche, a 5th round of sanctions. At the same time, the German president is admitting that Germany, which was very close to Russia, very dependent on Russian energy, has admitted that they got Putin wrong and they should have adapted their policy to adjust to what they saw coming out of Putin's Russia, especially since 2014. So again, the mayor of Kramatorsk, 30 people dead, 100 wounded. He says 90% of the casualties were women, children, and the elderly. That's 90% of the casualties and make up the majority of those trying to evacuate, because you know the men mostly have to stay and fight. John, this is a terrible new development in this war.
Christian, what do you see the Russian objective here as?
You know, it's really hard to talk about an objective of a so-called modern military that wages its brutal campaign either with total indiscipline, total indiscriminate shooting, or with a desire to win based on the back of the civilian population. We have seen, because of intercepted communications, again, the German intelligence has intercepted communications which were reported on our air and elsewhere yesterday, that the Russian soldiers, certainly in the Kyiv region, communicating back with Moscow, were having discussions about killing not just soldiers of Ukraine, but also civilians, with the aim being to sow panic and to what they think spur defeat by sowing this panic and this carnage to lower people's resistance and their courage to stand up. So far, they're failing at that, but they are bomb by bomb, missile by missile, attacking, killing, injuring, mostly Ukrainian civilians. This is their aim. It's really important to understand that the civilians are not being caught in the crossfire. They are being targeted.
Christian,
despite the denials by the Kremlin.
And I just want to reiterate that point, or have you reiterate it, because this target is a very specific location. Kramatorsk is in the east right now. This is where the fighting is intensifying. This is where thousands of Ukrainian refugees are now trying to get out of this area and move to relative safety, and they have to go through here. It's a well-known fact. They have to go through that train station, so many of them do, and there have been thousands and thousands of them there every day. This is, by definition, Christian, I know it's an infrastructure target, but it's a civilian target. It is where thousands of civilians are known to be every day.
It's not an infrastructure target that would be a legitimate military target. As I said, they have known for 2 weeks that this evacuation started, according to the mayor of Kramatorsk, centered on that train station. They have known this. Even if they just put up a satellite, they could see it. Even if they just had intelligence on the ground, they would know it. Furthermore, Kramatorsk is part of what's known as the Greater Donbass area, which is the target of the Russian military machine now. You've reported, and we've seen, they've pulled back from all the north area, and they are regrouping to do a full-scale attack on the east, because they're not just content with the bits they illegally occupy right now, the separatist bits of Donetsk and Luhansk, but they want the whole Donbass. They want the whole border region. And that, according to the head of military intelligence here, is to take territory, to hold it, maybe even partition Ukraine, either forever or as a negotiating tactic. The Polish Prime Minister said that he believed that we would see increased attacks on this Donbass area in the east and in the south. Mariupol continues to be hammered in order for the Russians to hold that land and then to, as I say, either negotiate from there or to keep it. The military intelligence chief said that he believed the Russians were attempting a North and South Korea style division/demilitarized zone. And it is coming at the cost of the killing of civilians.
Dozens killed at this train station so far. We could learn more. Christian Amanpour, we're going to let you get back on the phone and find out more, if you can, of what has been a terror attack, frankly, at this train station in eastern Ukraine. Brianna?
Yeah, it is horrific. and some of the horrors, the continuation of some of the horrors that we have seen and been hearing about in Mariupol. I do want to bring in the deputy mayor of Mariupol, Sergei Orlov, who is with us. Sir, we are witnessing this now in Kramatorsk. You understand, obviously, what is going on in Mariupol. Can you tell us, we understand that there have been some mobile crematorium facilities. This is something we've not been able to independently verify. Is this something that you have seen evidence of, that you've talked to people who have seen evidence of?
Hello. We received a lot of information and continue to investigate this issue. So what do we have? We know that 10, 12, 15, 20 days ago, there were a lot of bodies on the street. We saw it on images, we saw it on photos, we saw it in words of witnesses. And it was thousands of killed people all over the street. So we have a lot of information. When you come to 100 meters in any city, about 20 bodies and killed person, and they start to disappear when it was well known about Bucha, about Irpin, and we understand that a lot of Russians start to hide this all bodies and all war crimes, and they start to collect bodies in some district. We know that it's Northwest district, in where is some fridge, some cemetery there, and we continue to investigate what do they do with bodies, because we know exactly they do not bury them.
As we are seeing, Deputy Mayor, this attack on this train station in Kramatorsk, what is the effect of that going to be on people who are making that calculation to leave Mariupol, to separate their families, and to leave other areas in the east?
Yeah, we know at the moment in Mariupol there is 130,000 citizens, civil citizens. They are still in Mariupol, and all of them are like hostages. Russia do not allow to humanitarian evacuation. They do not allow to reach Mariupol for any humanitarian reason and transfer humanitarian goods. So all these people are not living, they are surviving. They are all living underground, I mean in shelter, bomb shelter, in some spaces just to be survive. And this is their life day by day, hour by hour. And we want to solve this issue with humanitarian evacuation.
Yesterday, our Ivan Watson was interviewing people who had made it out of Mariupol, women entirely that he was talking to on our air. And one young woman who was 28 that he spoke to said that she had heard and she had seen pictures from her friends. Women were being raped and they were being killed and disfigured. Have you seen evidence of that? Have you heard evidence of that?
We also heard a lot of such war crimes, such victims, and I'm sure we will know a lot after deblocation, after Mariupol will be deblocated in military or diplomatical way. And I think the numbers will be much more than in Bucha, because there is more citizens in Mariupol. We heard a lot about such victims.
Deputy Mayor, thank you so much for being with us. We continue to check in with you in the coming days as well. And hopefully we'll be speaking again soon. Sergei Orlov, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right, we're getting much more information on the breaking news. A devastating missile strike on a packed train station in eastern Ukraine and Kramatorsk. We're hearing at least 30 killed, dozens injured. Plus this.
Прямо з тої кухні от вони прийшли. Та й кажу, вибачайте за слово, що я треба відказати. Та йоп твою мать, це що Путін, той здурівся.
The small Ukrainian town that